Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode 107. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here on this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy Friday. Starting to slow down a lot more, than it was obviously this time last week. Here, the signings just across the league have obviously slowed down. Not as much kind of NFL news happening. Although there was a blockbuster trade a couple of days ago there that included the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs, and already JuJu has a new teammate over there. So we will be talking about JuJu, I think, today as well. So how's that kind of for a segue? And plus, we're going to be talking about my first mock draft of 2022 that's got everybody. It's Armageddon, I think, now, judging by the comments. So where would you like to begin?
Well, let's kind of pick up where we left off on Wednesday's show. As you mentioned, I think actually in our very extensive pre-production meeting here, Dave, the Steelers quarterback world tour continues. Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert among the busiest men in football this week. On Wednesday's show, we talked about how they were at Pitt's Pro Day on Monday for Kenny Pickett, and then at Liberty's Pro Day on Tuesday for Malik Willis. Since then, the Steelers have now traveled to Ole Miss for Matt Corral, and then yesterday we're in Cincinnati for Desmond Ridder, and we can confirm a Pro Day dinner with Desmond Ridder. We do not know for sure if Tomlin had a Pro Day dinner with Corral, but I'm betting he probably did. And so big picture here, Pittsburgh hitting up all the Pro Days. They've sent all the decision makers to these Pro Days. Cincinnati was very well attended yesterday because there are so many good Bearcat prospects this year outside of quarterback. 8 representatives in total for Pittsburgh were there. We've identified 7 of them, including guys like Tomlin, Colbert, Mike Sullivan, Matt Canada, Brandon Hunt, Omar Khan, et cetera, et cetera. So Pittsburgh obviously doing their homework on all these quarterbacks, Dave.
Yeah, big haul once again. And was that the largest haul to Cincinnati or no? Or was it equivalent? Obviously, I don't think Mike Sullivan wasn't at the Liberty Pro Day, correct?
Correct.
But he was at the Cincinnati Pro Day. So now, obviously, other schedules and all have a play in that later in the week. Those guys are probably, if they can help it, probably more closer to Pittsburgh, possibly. But, I mean, that's all speculation there. How much should be read into the large contingent? I mean, look, we knew that they were going to follow these quarterbacks around. And once we found out they were going to Ole Miss other than Ohio State, I mean, that pretty much laid the groundwork what was going to happen, not only on Thursday, but probably when the North Carolina Pro Day rolls around as well, too. So what, if anything, I look at it as them doing due diligence on this entire class, making sure they have all their comparisons right. But is there anything more to be read into this, as in, we like a bunch of these quarterbacks, and we're willing to take more than just one. It's my biggest fear. I'm just going to lay it out there. My biggest fear is that, okay, we're going to have about 3 or 4 quarterbacks that whatever one everybody else doesn't want, we'll take.
Yeah, I understand that. I think they want to look at all these guys to learn as much as possible to find out who they like the most and be able to most accurately rank their board, and getting to kind of watch guys back to back to back to back is helpful in being able to compare and contrast and get to know these people as well, which is more important for the pro day, getting to know the person as much as the actual workout is, in terms of, what is the most meaningful part of the process. I had mentioned on Wednesday that if they had gone to all the other pro days, which they have, it would kind of dilute the weight of any one name of saying like which guy is their guy, because obviously if they weren't at Ole Miss and they were at Liberty and they weren't at Cincinnati and were at Pitt, then you would know that Pickett and Willis would be kind of the two guys they're considering of the group. Now, all those guys are checking all those boxes. But what it shows to me, it is beyond due diligence. It is a real, they're spending so much time and energy and effort on the position. It's really hard to think they're not going to address it here in the draft, either probably in the first round or maybe in worst case scenario, the second round selection. You're not going to put in this kind of time and effort and just energy on the position, to me, just to ignore it come draft day. Now, who that guy will be becomes a lot tougher to figure out, because again, all these guys are checking those boxes. So when we create our short list of, potential first round picks, and just a quick note here, Dave had an interruption with his internet. It went out for about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes or so. So just to kind of reset things for us here. Like I said, Dave, for Pittsburgh, just all this efforting to look for a quarterback. Again, it's hard to really identify who that guy is going to be, but it's hard not to see them draft a quarterback. I mean, you think that's going to be the position they're going to zero in on, given all the time and energy spent looking at the position.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. And I've obviously felt that way for a little bit, but within that, I have felt like they need to focus in, have a guy, especially, when you look at this class, to reiterate once again, my thoughts on this quarterback class, it's not great. And it's been that from pretty much the get-go here. However, if they have one guy, or I guess maybe even two guys that they feel could be that guy, then they need to make every effort to get that guy or the other guy. My biggest fear once again is that, all right, 3 quarterbacks are off the board. Who's the next one here? Almost like a fantasy football checklist, kind of. And I truly believe that's the wrong way. We've said that several times throughout this process. If you have a guy, go get him. But to me, it feels like it's going to be hard to accept the fact that they had multiple guys and that, oh, look at there, our guy fell to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think this due diligence process is trying to exactly still better answer that question of who are our guys. Hopefully it's just 1 or 2 names, but you want to go to these pro days to really dial that in.
If you don't have one favorite quarterback, do you have any quarterbacks? Or how does the old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one, right? Mm-hmm. In the NFL, if you have 3 favorite quarterbacks in a draft, do you not have one? You see where I'm going with that, and that's kind of my biggest fear in this. And personally, and we can look at this like, man, they send such a large contingent to Cincinnati. How in the world can you, and Pittsburgh and Liberty, how in the world can you say that you have a feeling that Malik Willis is their guy? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because of all the boxes that they say or have checked. But within all that, my feeling still is that Malik Willis is the apple of their eye. And it's going to take a lot to drive me away from that point, even if we get to the fact of, well, let's say they end up drafting, I don't know, Ritter or Corral at 20th overall. It's going to take a lot of convincing for me to believe that, oh, well, that was our guy all along. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. What is it about Willis that still puts you so strongly in that camp, despite the other pro day trips?
Just everything, to what I perceived as being the highest ceiling of all the quarterbacks in this class, the mobility, the character, just everything with him leads me to believe that that's their guy.
Yeah, and I think they certainly like Willis, and obviously he could become a Steeler. Pittsburgh wants to make that move up, but it is now that Corral and Pickett and Ritter and Willis have all checked those boxes. It does make it tougher to determine who that guy may be.
You could harken back to 2004, right? they supposedly did their due diligence on the quarterback stand, and but they obviously did not trade up to get one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when the opportunity presented itself, that Roethlisberger was there, it took a little prodding from Rooney to say, hey, let's steer the conversation back this way. My biggest problem with this is the quarterback's not named Willis, because of the fact that I view him as, in a weak quarterback class, having the highest ceiling.
Sure, I understand that, but how do the Steelers perceive these guys?
I don't
Ritter's an interesting guy that has a lot of athleticism as well, and a good arm, and accurate, and a little slighter build than Willis. Corral, I thought, had a good workout. His release is lightning quick. I mean, I think he kind of fits well in that Steelers Canada-based offense. So you could certainly make arguments for the other guys as well.
Sure. I mean, especially after what we know right now and how they've treated you. Why didn't Carolina, not that it matters, why didn't Carolina go to the Cincinnati Pro Day?
I think Rule got tired of getting stubbed by Tomlin on all these Pro Day dinners. But I think also they're not going to take Ritter at 6, so they know that he's not going to be in strong consideration.
Okay, so do you feel like they feel like it's going to be an either or for them between Willis and Pickett at this point? And what would happen if somebody traded up ahead of them and drafted both Pickett and Willis?
Yeah, I can't answer that part of it. They're in a position to move up themselves if need be. I know the Giants are potentially looking to move back, but yes, I believe the Panthers will take one of Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis.
All right, so I mean, if you're leading, and obviously we don't know how they're thinking when it comes to these quarterbacks overall. We think that we know how they're thinking, but in truth of reality, we don't. But if indeed they viewed Willis as their guy, why wouldn't you make every effort to make sure that you secured him?
Yeah, it just depends on a lot of variables. How high? What if Willis goes to Detroit? How do you get him? You probably can't. You almost certainly can't at that point. And for whatever's worth, Colbert during the combine said he thought there were multiple future starters in this league, so they could have guys they also like. Maybe it's just a tick below in the grade, but also value really highly, and say a trade up isn't worth it. We're all obviously speculating and spitballing and brainstorming here, but there is certainly no. And I know you recognize this. There's no guarantee they're going to trade up for Malik Willis.
Right. I mean, and they can make every effort in the world. We might not even find out about it,
Exactly.
Kind of thing. This just goes back to my fear of, the fourth quarterback dropped to us. Let's take that one,
Yeah, I mean, that's the Artie Burns. Well, William Jackson's gone, so we'll take the next corner on our list.
And it wouldn't be so bad if this was the 2004 quarterback class, I guess. But it's not, in my opinion.
Well, so we basically know all their pro day trips, the major ones. Kevin Colbert, by the way, is at Notre Dame today. No Mike Tomlin. At least I don't believe Mike Tomlin is there. He's probably catching up on some sleep.
Poor man needs some sleep. Needs to walk off those dinners too, probably.
That as well. So Colbert's there. There is only really one first-round pick for the Fighting Irish this year. That's Kyle Hamilton. He will not make it anywhere close to pick 20 for Pittsburgh, I don't think. So I'm not going to put him on the short list. I think Colbert's there just because they were in Cincinnati yesterday. And for Colbert's final pro day tour, probably wants to stop by there. They're pretty regulars at Notre Dame in past years. So just kind of creating our short list of names right now. It's probably going to be a bit longer list than what it may be, come right before the draft. But you'll have the 4 quarterbacks, so Pickett, Willis, Corral, Ritter, and then have the non-quarterbacks. You could argue Lewis Sine from Georgia, Clemson corner Andrew Booth, maybe even George Pickens from Georgia, although I view him kind of more of a day 2 guy. Is that a good short list of things? And obviously, if they're at North Carolina Monday, then again, you could even argue Sam Howell as well.
Jordan Davis, right?
Yeah, if he fell.
Assuming.
Tomlin admits that he doesn't even think he'll make it to 20, and I don't think he'll make it to 20.
Or is he just trying to posture and say, he ain't going to make it? We don't have a chance.
Maybe both.
But I mean, he would have to be on the list because they were at Georgia and he's a first round prospect.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to put like Trayvon Walker on there because he's going to be gone before 20. I mean, you can put Davis, and I totally get that, so I can include him. But that's to me the list. So that's roughly what 8, 9 names right there.
Here's my thought. From look, where do you have Ritter in all this?
In terms of what?
In terms of how does your evaluation go at the quarterback position? I believe you said you had Willis, Pickett, and then who? If you were to rank them, you would have had it Pickett or Willis, Pickett, and then who was your third on the list?
Well, I'm hopefully in about a week from now I will have my official rankings with free agency. I've not had time to go back and watch the quarterbacks the way that I really wanted to, so I don't have an official ranking yet.
Okay.
By the way, just reading a tweet here from ESPN's David Newton. This is from just a couple minutes ago. The Panthers tried to have dinner with Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral, but he was booked. We did meet with him on the side, Scott Fitterer said. I'm going to take a guess who had that booking.
Aha. So, yeah, I mean, it would make sense, right? That Tomlin's having, and if Tomlin calls you, he gets that dinner date,
Yeah.
There. So, yeah, good eye there. It wouldn't be hard to imagine that. And maybe that's why he said, screw it, didn't go to Cincinnati.
Because Tomlin had Ritter. So Rule's like, I'm done. My joke is that Tomlin has dinner and Rule's in the bathroom when Ritter's washing his hands, trying to be like, hey, man, how's it going? Like just trying to catch a little word in edgewise there.
Yeah, following him to the bathroom, wearing a disguise. It's me. It's Matt Rule.
Yeah. Matt Rule's like, he knows he's getting fired. He's like, I can't get a quarterback. My owner hates me. Our team is not very good. I'm getting fired so soon.
I don't know. This and look, kudos to Mike Tomlin and company for having us kind of a little bit guessing on this as well too. So it goes back, and I'll continue to say this the rest of the way. It goes back for me continuing to say that, man, this quarterback class ain't all that. I can see them maybe wanting to get a guy with the perceived highest ceiling and big arm and mobility and all like that, Malik Willis. I'm just going to have, and it does indeed look like they're not coming out of the first round without a quarterback. And if that quarterback ends up not being Pickett or Willis, it's going to be a hard sell on me for Kevin Colbert to say, this is the guy that we wanted,
Sure. But again, although nothing is guaranteed, the likelihood of them taking a quarterback, given all the energy they're spending on the position, to me, I would call it a high likelihood.
Absolutely. You can't deny all that's happened this week in the pro day circuit.
Right. And I've had some people say, well, why did this team sign Trubisky? Well, Trubisky,
that's easy to get around. Right.
Yeah,
that's
they're two different goals. Trubisky's the short-term bridge guy. The rookie's going to be the hopeful long-term guy of the franchise. Trubisky's not going to be here 5 years from now. And if he is for some reason, then great. Something amazing and incredible happened. But they're serving two different purposes.
Right. Absolutely. And look, I mean, you go back to 2004. It looked, they could have gotten around not drafting a quarterback that year as well, too. Had Maddox under contract, obviously had Batch and the great Brian St. Pierre. I believe they had just drafted the year before, right? Within all that, they still drafted a quarterback, and Mitch Trubisky is not going to prevent this team from drafting a quarterback. End of story. And then if they end up with Mitch Trubisky having a Pro Bowl, all pro year, fantastic, But other than that, then I mean, I at this point I'll be shocked that it's not a quarterback in the first round, and I still will be somewhat shocked if they don't make every effort to get Willis.
Yeah, I understand that. But I think they want to do their homework, because if Willis is not an option for whatever reason, then they got to look somewhere else.
Okay.
Let's see. So, yeah, Kevin Colbert at Notre Dame today, North Carolina on Monday. Where do you want to go from here, Dave?
Whichever direction you want to go. I mean, we covered all most of the pro day stuff. I mean, later in this, we'll update where you've spotted Where's Waldo and all like that. So we can go in multiple directions from here.
Well, let's talk about, because there's already, how many comments are on this thing? It's an incredible number. Over 400 comments of this recording a little afternoon on your latest Steelers mock draft. And my goodness, Dave, you have riled up the masses. And I looked at the comments, and yeah, people are they don't love it. They don't love what you did here. I think it's pretty good. Maybe I'm a little biased here, but we'll walk through your mock draft, and it's combining your two favorite things, mock drafts and mock draft trades. And in the first round of your mock draft, you have Pittsburgh moving up to number 5 with the New York Giants to draft Malik Willis. So you're backing up your words about you think Pittsburgh will aggressively pursue Malik Willis.
Yeah, how many comments did your mock the other day get?
Not 400.
Really?
Okay. I'm pretty sure.
Look, I was very open about this ahead of time. Hey, let me reiterate. In no good faith could I, even though I think there's a tiny chance of a guy like Malik Willis dropping, at no point would anybody let me mock him at 20th overall like you did. Okay. I don't believe at this point. I think everybody really believes that in order for the Steelers to get Malik Willis, they'll have to move up however much. And I think we agreed on the show the other day that up to 5th overall would probably get it done. Not guaranteed, but probably. Obviously, you don't make that move up until the Giants are on the clock at number 5, and then you make that move there. But and then I think we also agreed that proper trade compensation would be the Steelers swapping obviously their own first round pick at 20th overall, their first round pick in 2023, and then a 3rd round draft pick this year in 2022. Assuming that's all that it would take, and that's a big assumption. And once again, not only do I hate doing mock drafts at this point in my blogging career, I hate mocking trades on top of it, but there was no other way around this for me to try to do it the way I think that the Steelers are thinking. And once again, and I guess it takes a lot of people don't ever listen to this year in and year out. When I do these mocks, what I think the Steelers will do,
right?
Not what I do. And you do the same thing. To me, it's worthless to do a mock draft of wearing your fan hat, I don't find value in that other than maybe just talking about some of the prospects, which nobody does anyway. They just want to look at who you picked and then tell you it sucked or it was great or whatever. So with all that disclaimer out of the way that everybody just didn't listen to, you're welcome. But within that, I have them. I'm predicting that the Steelers will, or I think the Steelers will seriously consider trading up to the number 5 spot to draft Malik Willis out of Liberty. And I don't know how much discussion there is between you and I on that.
Not much, in the sense of, I certainly could see that. While they've certainly showed interest in the other quarterbacks, Willis seems to check a lot of those boxes. You go back to some of the Senior Bowl stuff and, the interest and rumors that were there, despite the other quarterbacks, Sans Corral, being there. I think they certainly like Willis. They would love to have him. It is just a matter of, can you go acquire him? And I don't think Pittsburgh would be opposed to trading up. I mean, there's a price for everything, but when it comes to your franchise quarterback, that price that you're willing to pay is going to be set ultra high.
My feeling is, if that's the guy and you think that can be the guy for the next 10 years, then go get the guy.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Quite honestly, if he winds, even if he doesn't wind up being the guy for the next 10 years, I mean, a first, giving a first next year and really a 3rd this year, I view it as kind of a small price to pay, to be honest with you. Overall, I mean, you would miss that pick next year, but you're not going to know even if you made the right choice at quarterback, probably next year by draft time anyway. So, I mean, if you drafted this kid first, traded up to go get a guy, anybody, not just Malik Willis, it's going to take you a couple years, I think, to find out who, if you made the right decision in that alone. So to me, I know a lot of people, you're setting the franchise back X amount of years. Look, if you miss on any first round draft pick, regardless if you trade up for them and give away a first anyway, it can set back an organization, especially one like the Steelers that really lives off of the draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sure. I'm not justifying this. I'm just telling you that I think if they view that as being their guy, that I can really see them going up to go get that guy. Now, we could get here and them not move at all. Wait until 20th and grab a guy like Ritter or Crown and say, that was our guy. And then who are we to say? Right.
Right.
Unless they tell us that, well, we tried to get up, but that kind of stuff probably wouldn't come out for years anyway. So that's where I'm at on this. I think that they like Willis enough to potentially trade up as high as the number fifth pick overall.
Yeah, and the reason why we pick 5 is for 2 reasons. A, it puts you 1 slot ahead of Carolina, who almost certainly is going to take a quarterback, again, Willis or Pickett. And 5 is the Giants, and they've been strongly rumored to be willing to move down and pick up next year's one there. If they have 2 picks in the top 10, they pick at 5, pick at 7, so they would still get the 7th overall pick and number 20, and to have 2 first-rounders next year. And I'm assuming they're doing that because they view we'll go get a quarterback next year in a perceived stronger class. We'll see how things go this year with Daniel Jones, give that one last test run. And if that does not work, we'll use that capital next year to go get a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or whoever else emerges.
Let me ask you, if this would qualify as compensation, you'd probably say probably not. Instead of giving that 3rd this year to the Giants, what have you sent them Mason Rudolph?
No, I mean, I don't know what they have. Daniel Jones. I mean, what are they going to do with Rudolph?
I mean, it gives you a fallback backup option this year, No,
I can't see them biting on that. A guy whose contract's going to be up. I've even thought, honestly, that it might even take like this year's 2nd instead of this year's 3rd to do that deal, because it is top 5 and there'll be competition. And that I was thinking about that a bit more. The trade chart says the 3rd could work, but to move up 20 to 5 is a lot. So I was thinking maybe I was even being a little light on potential trade compensation.
It might, but I mean, at least you have a better chance of selling that, right?
Selling
as is first next year and a 3rd this year.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to sell it. I was just trying to think about what made sense from a trade.
You could sell it from a it makes sense standpoint, not you personally trying to sell it, just selling the idea of a deal like that going down.
Yeah, especially I didn't do that arbitrarily. I did it because the reports from Peter King and I think several others since said the Giants want a 1st-round pick next year. They're looking to move down, and because they have 2 picks, they will still get a top 10 pick and pick up next year's first. So that, and then of course being at number 5, 1 spot ahead of Carolina, it all kind of fit perfectly. That's where you want to make a move, that's where you can probably make a move.
Okay.
I really go ahead.
Good.
I was going to say, I really liked your 2nd-round pick here, Jaquan Brisker, the safety from Penn State. And we talk about, where Tomlin and Colbert go in terms of, here's the way I view the draft, basically, Dave. Tomlin and Colbert dictate where this team will go in the 1st round. Positional coaches dictate kind of how the rest of the draft unfolds, especially in that 2nd, 3rd round range. For example, Alfredo Roberts worked out Pat Freiermuth last year. They draft Pat Freiermuth in the 2nd round. And so you had Brady Brown, the DB's coach at Penn State yesterday, along with Brian Flores, Jerry Olsavsky. And so Brisker here in the 2nd round really kind of fits well, especially with that safety spot still outstanding. Now we expect them to add a veteran at some point here, but it may not be a marquee name unless it is Honey Badger. So Brisker, I think, is a good selection.
Right, and I think you had a terrible take about this the other day about once just reiterating once again how important it is where positional coaches go. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're good at finding several of these scouts and where they go and all, but it's almost like an extra Easter egg find when you find say a head position coach at a pro day. And luckily, just in time for my mock draft. A couple of them were, I cheated. I held off.
Yeah, you were sitting in the tall grass for like a month, just waiting.
Sure, I cheated you with the timing of this, and it worked out absolutely perfect for me here. But Brisker was on my radar to some degree, and look, make no mistake about how this mock draft plays out right now. It's evidently, obviously apparent that it's relies heavily on that first pick, and then you go from there on it. And it also relies heavily on where this roster is in this current moment. And in this current moment, there is a lot of questions about the strong safety spot, correct?
Yeah, it is arguably the most questionable spot right now. It's that and slot receiver in terms of the 2022 roster.
And until we get some more clarity on that, whether they re-sign Terrell Edmonds, whether or not they go out and get a guy on like Tyrann Mathieu, something like that. I have no choice than to put safety up higher on the on Kevin Colbert's what need list. Now, if they go out and they do something with Edmonds or Tyrann Mathieu, obviously that will I'd be more open to doing something else in the second round there. But with that being such a high need right now, and then on the heels of them having Grady and Flores and Olszewski and all at that pro day, oh man, that and just the kid's a good kid, overall too, and he's got all the elements. I think he meets all the standards of the Alex Kozora study, what the Steelers look for kind of elements in a safety. There, he's played both man and zone coverage. Watched quite a bit of his film yesterday afternoon. Was according to PFF the only Power 5 conference safety with an 80 plus grades in both man and zone coverage in 2021. I think he was even he could obviously play the run reasonably well. His tackles a little bit, they all could use help in tackling, I think. But there are some hit and miss type situations with his tackling form there. And I believe he was even a captain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I went through the draft profile on Brisker about a month ago, and the thing I liked about him the most was kind of that tight end eraser. Really good in man coverage against tight ends, has the size, athleticism, the ball skills. He's versatile. The tackling was, to me, the biggest concern. A lot more misses, shooting too low. But I have read some stuff. He was coming off a shoulder surgery, and so that may have kind of hindered his tackling ability this past year. So maybe I should do a deeper dive into 2020 tape, those couple of games they played, to see, what tackling was there, because it sounds like there might have been some impact coming off that shoulder injury.
And he was a team captain last year, I found. So, there's that. So, I think you agree this passes all the sniff tests when it comes to a potential second round pick, and especially from a need-want standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it fits as well as any pick you could argue in the second rounds. Like that and George Pickens are the two that really make the most amount of sense to me. So no third round pick for you because of the mock
Where'd
trade.
that go?
It's gone.
I want it back. I got to my third round pick and I wanted it back. Oh well.
So we'll jump to the fourth round here with cornerback Alante Taylor from Tennessee, Senior Bowl guy. Your thoughts on Alante Taylor and why you mocked him to Pittsburgh? Yeah,
look, I wanted to go three different directions with this pick. I needed 3 fourth-round draft picks here because I wanted to address either receiver, cornerback, or even inside linebacker, or edge even in this. I mean, I can really see it really opening up here right now. Now we, as of right now, and we found out yesterday, or he hasn't officially signed yet. Ahkello Witherspoon, and that's part of what we're talking about here after a while, is he still hasn't officially signed yet here. Regardless, I think there's a high probability that this team addresses the cornerback position during this draft. When you look at and once again, I spent a good part of these last 2 days going through that Alex Kozora, what do they look for list. And boy, you can really start whittling some things down, when you use that. And I kind of settled on also kind of trying to do my best to look at where guys might go in this thing as well too. And, kind of came up with just a few names here. And, Alante Taylor was one of them, I think, that stuck out the most. He's long, has, kind of the hearts and smarts, if you will, has a lot of experience coming out of Tennessee, a willing tackler, probably didn't get the takeaways that you'd obviously like. But plays both man and zone. Obviously needs some grooming at the NFL level. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, even though I don't think he's too terribly far from it. Smart and team leader, was at the Senior Bowl. That's always a plus that we kind of look for here with the senior type people. So super uber experienced in the SEC as well too, with 45 games played and 31 starts overall. That's kind of where I landed on him. I really envision him being on the Steelers board.
I'm looking at I posted this photo of Mike Tomlin. It's that close-up of that Dolphins game. That little Tomlin face meme makes me laugh every single time I look at it. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, with Taylor, it reminds me a little bit. It's maybe an easy and arguably lazy comparison here, but kind of some Cam Sutton vibes, but he's bigger than Cam Sutton, but kind of some boxes checked there in terms of the smartness and experience and versatility as well.
I think, and boy, it would be nice to have these guys short shuttles and 3 cones.
I know that's going to hurt my look for starting. Yeah. No one tested the combine. They didn't do anything at the combine this year. Everyone opted out.
Yeah, and we're sitting here waiting to see which ones will do it at their pro days and all like that. I think the arm length was one of the things that he just missed on. Am I correct?
I haven't even looked at my look for studies from last year. I don't remember what the bar was. His arm length though is 32 1/4, so I'm guessing he checked that box. It's not like Indy where they want like 33-inch arms for every corner they draft.
Thought there was one. Maybe he was okay in that aspect. I thought there was one thing that he didn't check. That kind of through caution.
Might have been the vert, maybe 34.5-inch vert. So
maybe that was it. But for the most part, he checked a lot of boxes. And once again, it'd be nice to have. And this is a kind of a deep enough corner class where you can kind of see a guy like him that ran well and has good athleticism. I think if you look at it at his relative athletic score, it's strong. On top of it there. So as we like to say, sparky enough there. And I just think from several areas, he checks what the Steelers look for there. And once again, I could have gone wide receiver here. I could have gone cornerback here. I could have went edge rusher here, inside linebacker, which I didn't address at all in this mock draft. Could have gone here as well too.
And speaking quickly of inside linebackers, some really bad news for LSU linebacker Damone Clark, spinal fusion surgery of some sort, likely to miss his rookie season. So that's a guy I've been super high on, thought Pittsburgh would have interest in, but the medical there obviously is going to really impact his draft stock.
When is the Tennessee Pro Day to see if we get somebody to show up there?
Tennessee Pro Day 2022. It's not giving me a great answer off the top here. Let me see if I can find it on NFL.com in March 30th.
Okay, so that'll answer if we get someone like Grady to show up there, that won't be a bad sign, right?
Yeah, positional coaches, again, pretty important there when you're looking past round one. And speaking of positional coaches, your 6th-round pick had a Steelers positional coach there yesterday, wide receiver Danny Gray from SMU, Frisman Jackson. Good eye by you, Dave. You found him. And so Frisman Jackson has been the busiest positional coach on Pittsburgh this year, going to Georgia and Clemson, and now SMU for Danny Gray.
And look, I'm not happy that I had to wait all this long to get a wide receiver. Okay. If there's something that I'm concerned about with the way this mock draft played out, it is the fact that did not get a wide receiver until the 6th round. However, this is a deep class. I think we've said it several times at the wide receiver position here. This team could really use 2 wide receivers in this draft. It could use a slot receiver as this roster stands right now, and it could use a Z with that can get over the top of that speed.
Mm-hmm.
Enter in Danny Gray. who is really a little bit of both, to be honest with you. He can play the Z, he can play the X. I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't gone deep enough to see how much X he played, but I would imagine with looking at his traits and his characteristics, that wouldn't be hard for him to pick up there either. You talk about this is another Senior Bowl guy, right? And that's important here. You talk about having a positional coach at the pro day. Frisman Jackson there. It's another important element there. Gray registered the top GPS speed, 22.01 miles an hour among offensive players at the Senior Bowl this past year. That's something that's going to stick out to the Steelers as well, too. He had 15 of his 82 total receptions at SMU resulted in gains of 25 yards or longer. So he's a big play guy. 13 of his receptions were good for touchdowns. Very good yards after the catch guy. And I think that's another important element of this as well, too. So the big question I guess people will have with him, and I think he's testing off the charts. I think he's going to hit everything, that you need him to from a wide receiver aspect there is, well, will he be on the board come that, late in the draft there? And once again, I think you're looking at a wide receiver class that is deeper, and you're going to have some people fall. And will they fall that much? I obviously don't know. 2-year guy at SMU transferred from a smaller school where he put up good numbers at a much.
Where did he transfer from? I didn't realize he was a transfer. Was he a JuCo kid, or was he going from like a FCS or a Division II school?
Let's see here. Blinn College.
That's a JuCo. Yeah, JuCo, right? What like Aaron Rodgers or Cam Newton? Some Blinn's pretty well known.
Let's see. Through 2019 at Blinn College, played in 9 games, led the team of 54 receptions, 877 yards, and earned first team honors for Southwest Junior College football conference. So
yeah, that's where Cam went. Cam Newton went to Blinn.
Okay, how about that? Registered. So he went. I think he had some academic issues, maybe, or quality to get in, and then had to get those settled at JUCO before getting in over at SMU.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And as much as Tomlin has talked about mobility with quarterback, we've discussed speed on this offense, because this offense overall is just pretty slow. I mean, Claypool runs a 4.42 on paper, but doesn't play like that. And overall, it's just kind of, there is no real speed element on this offense. So I think getting that, well, not to say all, is still going to be pretty important.
Tom Meade did a very good profile on him. And look, they used him on wide receiver screens as well, too. They used him on jet sweeps and just that speed. And he returned a couple of punts and kickoffs. Not that that's overly important, but he's got, some flexibility to him. As far as that aspect goes. And, the thing that got me most attracted to him were several things. Obviously, position coach there. And this is a guy that played both the Z and in the slot. So did have a couple of drops. And I think that's at the college level. I think that's another thing that's going to drive him down the board a little bit there. But when you wait this long to get a wide receiver in a mock draft, this is kind of what you come up with. And
again, the trade element of this makes it so that you can't get everybody that you want when you want them. You're dealing with even more limited draft capital. How many picks are in this draft? It's like 6, I think.
6, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's not going to look perfect, but you're always thinking in this scenario, you get your quarterback, and that's the most important thing you can do in a draft, is get your quarterback, at least hopefully get your quarterback.
Well, I tell you, we talked several times so far this offseason. Boy, this team's it sure seems like this team has a lot of holes, right? And they have addressed some of those holes so far, obviously, with what they've done. But there's still the wide receiver element, right? There's still the safety element, the outside linebacker element here. Will all those be addressed before the draft? We'll see. And look, I mean, tackle too. People I know screaming, why didn't you draft a tackle? Well, you can't. With 6 picks and one of them, on a quarterback in the first round, and one of them being at a huge need at safety, you start running out of picks before you can fill all the holes.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about your last 2 picks in this mock 7th round, the first of 2 7th round picks. I like this one a lot, Dave. outside linebacker, edge rusher Deangelo Malone from Western Kentucky. I thought he really got on my radar at the Senior Bowl. I thought he had a good Senior Bowl week. Different body type, very long and lean and lanky, but he's got good tape and had a really good performance in Mobile.
And didn't he weigh a little bit? I think he's put on a little bit of weight since then.
Yeah, I believe I don't know exactly what he came in at, but I believe he was heavier at the combine than he was at the Senior Bowl.
Right, and if he can play at that weight, fantastic. Look, we've seen this team in the past with smaller school edge rushers, right? That as long as they can compete at the All-Star games. The Steelers don't have an issue in here. This guy's got some, and you saw him firsthand. This guy's got some speed to power. Nice bull rush in there. Nice quickness and bend, I think, off the edge when you look at some of those drills tape that we have, the all 22 from the Senior Bowl and all like that. Hard to get past his college production. 349 total tackles, 59 tackles for loss, and 32 and a half sacks. That's hard to ignore. Has to continue to develop as a dropper and against the run. But as far as raw materials go and you know, that kind of thing there, I mean, he might not last till the seventh round. But this, once again, I think this is a decent edge rusher class overall, and he's not coming out a completely polished product. That might push him down a little bit, especially at his height and weight. I think teams are going to pigeonhole him as that guy's got to be in a 3-4 or a very distinct hybrid, you know, such a here's what's going to happen. He's going to end up with the Ravens. What's going to happen there. But I think all those elements are what's going to push him down on the board. I'm really looking forward to watching what happens. I don't think his pro days happen either.
Yeah, 243 pounds is what he came in at the combine. I think it was like 234 at the Senior Bowl. The length that he has, 33 and an 1/8 inch arms. He forced 8 fumbles in his career, and so that length to be able to get to the quarterback. But what I thought was most impressive about Malone at the Senior Bowl was his run defense, his hand placement, ability to stack and shed, get off of blocks, and make the tackles. Usually get those
blew up the H-back one time, if I remember.
Yeah, because usually those long lean guys, they get controlled. They're good pass rushers. Occasionally, they can kind of bend and they can get to the quarterback. But this guy can play the run, and that to me was the most impressive part about what I saw at the Senior Bowl. 2-time Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year, and probably doesn't have much experience going backwards. But really, in this day and age for Pittsburgh, their edge guys don't drop nearly as much as they used to. It used to be 25, 30%. DJ Watt dropped 37% his rookie year. Now those guys are down to between 10 and 15%. So I think it's a great fit there for Pittsburgh.
And once again, the question is going to become once draft Twitter kind of catches, and some guys, some have obviously caught up with them. Those that have been astute during the Senior Bowl and all like that. You know, how far does a guy like him drop in this draft?
Yeah, I can see where mock draft database has him at. I feel like it's going to be a little bit higher than that, but maybe not terribly much higher than that. Just to get a see they compile all the mock drafts from like around, and they get an aggregate. Yeah, so they have him currently as a 5th round projection, but honestly, getting to day 3 gets really muddied, and who the heck knows, you know?
Right.
So I think that's reasonable to do. And then with your final pick here, Dave, you're going kind of chalk, if there is such a thing for a 7th round pick, with Connor Hayward, the fullback, H-back, whatever you want to call him, out of Michigan State.
Just makes a lot of sense. And why risk, if you can grab him in the 7th, why risk him going elsewhere and you not being able to get him? Obviously, if he goes undrafted, you would think the Steelers have the upper hand in getting him that way. But a jack of all trades, right? I mean, he can even carry the football for you. You can obviously use him as a lead blocker, line him up as a H-back kind of guy. You're probably not going to use him a lot on the end of the line of scrimmage as a regular blocking tight end because of his height and all like that. He's not built to take on those 4-3 base ends, but you can flex him out, use him in the passing game, middle of the field catches too. Boy, he's kind of fearless over. Had a couple of nice catches from Michigan State. Despite being 6 foot and kind of the size that he is there. So should be able to be a core special teamer at some point. Had over 300 total touches at the college level. I mean, I don't think you can ignore that. And obviously the link to Cameron Hayward made it too easy to throw him in there.
Yeah, I just did the profile on him. Went up this morning for Steelers Depot. He was fun to watch. I mean, he just anytime they needed a big play, obviously they had Kenneth Walker, but like anytime they needed a big play, he was making it. That Pitt game, he was fantastic. Had that great catch on that seam ball, middle of the field in the end zone, for a touchdown, whether it was a blocker or a runner. He's got some long speed too. Like he had an 80-yard touchdown against Maryland back in 2018. So obviously he fits a little, questionable. He's going to wear a lot of hats and not be a one position, kind of guy, but he's a fullback. He's an H-back, a special teamer. And I think he's just going to make your roster better. So he's got really good hands. Like this guy could be an asset in the boot game, maybe even screen game and stuff like that. My comp was Jason Snelling from way back when, about a decade ago. So
Okay.
I think Hayward's a good talent that is worthy of a draft pick.
Okay. And that's where I am.
So looking back, I know whenever I kind of, schedule or my mock drafts get published, I kind of have an instant regret or thought, what could I have done differently? What was your reaction? What was kind of the one thing you went, man, maybe I should have done something different with this mock draft?
Yeah, I would probably not trade up. I'd trade down to get more picks because I can't address everything that I want,
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get some more clarity with the safety position, because that would I felt the urge that I had to get a top safety because of where they're at right now at the safety position, and because fresh off of the Penn State Pro Day there. So
yeah.
Immediately I thought, man, I gotta, as locked in as I was with making sure I had them going up to get Malik Willis, I pretty much was resigned to the fact that I was going to put Brisker in that spot.
Yeah, and obviously, if hypothetically they sign a Honey Badger, then safety probably is not going to be taken in the second round. But we don't know that right now, so it is a glaring need. Yeah, receiver, obviously 6 rounds, tough, but you only have so many picks, and
I'm the one screaming, and I've been the most vocal about a receiver, as well too, about not only one but hoping they'd get 2 in this draft. And the way it kind of went just kind of dictated that I thought about maybe going one in the obviously I could have gone one in the 4th, right? Wide receiver in the 4th, and then maybe wait around on a cornerback. But then you're looking at the Thompson kid. I looked at the Thompson kid out of Texas, maybe being that 6th round cornerback, because look, not only are you missing a 3rd, you're missing a 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it hard too. I would have loved to have had a 5th round draft pick in here.
Yeah, and that 5th round comp pick we thought they could have gotten. Joe Haig canceled that out at the last game of the season, so really getting hurt.
Maybe they finagle as part of some sort of trade. Maybe they do something where they end up gaining back a 5th in this or somehow, I don't know.
I think in a hypothetical, just like a philosophical thing I have in my pretend GM world I live in sometimes, if you're ever going to be a team that trades up heavily in the 1st round, you got to try to trade back with whatever next pick you have to try to recoup those losses you had in that move up. So obviously you're not going to do a mock. We're going to have like 87 trades in it, but I just think if I'm the Steelers and I want to trade up for a quarterback and whatever next pick I have, 2nd, 3rd round, I want to move down 10, 15 spots, pick up an extra pick just to try to give myself, because really I think when it comes to the draft, I want as many darts as I can throw with a dartboard as possible and just give myself the best chance to hit on some of these guys. You only have 5 picks, man. You really kind of are locked in just a couple guys that are not all going to work out. So if you can get yourself 10 picks, man, to me that's where you kind of feel like you have the best chance to maximize your chances to hit.
Right. Well, once again, the biggest shrug or takeaway of my own mock is, man, I sure wish I would have had more picks,
Yeah. But again, what you have to tell yourself is you got the quarterback. And if you hit that, then nothing else matters. No one's going to remember about you didn't have a 5th round pick or you didn't get a receiver till the 4th. Nothing else matters if you hit on your quarterback.
Right. And once again, people, this is what I just trying to project kind of what the Steelers would do. And if I project that they, you get in a hole real quick by going trading up to get a quarterback, not having a 3rd round pick, and making sure that your 2nd round pick addresses, a guy that you pretty sure that they like and a safety at a position that they need. So you take those first 2 picks, you get past that, and you don't have a 3rd round pick, and you got all these needs out there. you're swimming upstream. It feels like at that point.
Yeah, without a paddle at that point. All right, Dave. So good job on the mock draft. I enjoyed it. You got a lot of comments, and we're up to how many comments are we up to at this point? 450. So people are. I don't know if it's two guys arguing or what. It's just there's a lot going on there, but
Right.
Get people talking on a Friday.
And obviously we do this just for the clicks, right? We are doing the. There's one in here that says he did it just for the clicks.
Which is why you waited until March 25th for your first mock draft.
Right. I do it just for the. I did quarter trade up to quarterback specifically for Willis for the clicks.
But they don't know what you traded up for until they click on it. So they don't. Right. The headline's not Steelers straight up for Malik Willis. It just here's a mock draft. So
it's clickbait, brother.
Not an accurate point. Anyway, let's get off the draft here for a moment. Talk about some other guys already in the NFL. And Dave, got to give you a lot of credit here for calling your shot on what happened with JuJu. We still don't know exactly the details, but we certainly learned more yesterday. We'll just spend a moment talking about this. JuJu talked with NFL Network's Taylor Biscotti in an Instagram live video yesterday and was asked about, why he chose the Chiefs. And here's his answer on why he chose Kansas City, saying, quote, "It finally came down to my career and my future. Going with the Steelers and what they offered me, it wasn't what I was looking for. I needed to go somewhere where I could play 1 year and ball. The Chiefs were obviously the best fit for me." So I know there were some rumors and some of the comments from JuJu's mom that were interpreted as the Steelers didn't want him, didn't offer him a contract. But based on JuJu's comments here when he says, "I needed to go somewhere where I could play 1 year and ball," coming off the sentence when he said that what Pittsburgh offered him wasn't what he was looking for, to me, says they offered him, as you speculated and believed, they offered him a multi-year deal at a yearly value he was not going to roll with.
Right, because he didn't want to lock himself in for the 2 or 3 years. As I've tried to tell people, and I'm even more sure now. And kudos to you for catching that interview with Taylor Biscotti, and props to her for asking kind of the questions too on that. I've never been more sure of myself than my assessment of that situation with JuJu. And I thought, not only did we talk about it on the podcast, but I had that long 7 or 8 tweet thread on it as well too. And I hope people understand why I looked at both sides of this. There's no way in God's green earth they were going to give him a 1-year contract for $5 or $6 million. Okay. They just weren't going to do it. Now, would they have given him a 1-year contract at 3.5? I think that's where it ends. And they're also a team. And I think I've explained this several times. They're not a team that likes working with not likely to be earned incentives. Don't get mad at me for saying that, but that's the way that they are. Get somebody to ask Kevin Colbert why they don't like dealing with that with non-quarterbacks. Don't come at me because of it. I'm just telling you what they like and don't like after years of tracking their salary cap and their contracts, the way they write contracts and all. So within that, if you're resigned to the fact that they weren't going to do a 1-year contract with incentives, and you're resigned to the fact that they weren't going to do a 1-year contract with a base value of more than, let's say, $3.5 million, then the only next step to that is a 2 or 3 year contract, and they probably weren't going to do a 2 or 3 year contract at $10 million. That value is probably going to be more along the lines that probably even less than what he made last year, which was $8 million. And JuJu, and I'm not blaming JuJu on this. JuJu did not want to lock himself in for the next 2 or 3 years at a market value, let's say less than $10 million. So if you're not getting that kind of offer from the Steelers, and you are wanting a chance to rebuild your market value, and you're wanting a chance to possibly make up to at least over $10 million, then that's why you accept the offer that you got from the Chiefs. And that's why you decline the offer or offers that you got from the Steelers. And I don't see how I can be wrong in this one, to be honest with you.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think that's perfectly well said. And that's JuJu seems to basically be implying that. Didn't explicitly say it, but whenever he says, What they offered me, it wasn't what I was looking for. I needed to go play on a 1-year deal. Like that's basically what he's saying. And so I think Pittsburgh offered him like 3 years. I don't know, 24 million. And he's like, I'm not taking that because that's low ball. The cap's going to go up so much. I'm going to go to the Chiefs 1-year deal, hit my incentives, hopefully, which look a little bit better post Tyreek Hill trade and cash in 2023.
Even and I would probably set the ceiling. I don't know. Probably somewhere along the line, it might be a stretch in here. Probably 2 years, $12 million from the Steelers if they were going to do a 2-year deal is kind of where I've got it at now.
Okay.
That would have produced a little bit, manageable cap charge in the first year on him. And obviously all that would have been involved in guaranteed for JuJu would have been a signing bonus there. And that's another reason why for JuJu probably not to take it, because it would have been essentially, I don't know, it would have been another 1 year, $7 million contract, in total. And if he didn't do good enough to get the second year, what would that have done to his market value a year from now, this, that, and the other there. So I think because it was a multi-year deal from the Steelers, because it was average yearly value, a lot less than 10 million, because the only guaranteed money in such a deal from the Steelers was likely the signing bonus. Those are all reasons why that deal did not fly. That alone, and quarterback situation on top of it,
Yeah, and beyond the financial, playing with Mahomes, playing with Kelsey, Ben being gone, Hilliard being gone, there really was no great incentive for JuJu to return, it sounds like.
Right.
So I think he'll leave that out well.
And blame, I don't blame it on anybody. I blame it on the way the two sides wanted to do business this offseason. And I don't think people should be getting mad at JuJu in this, and I don't think the Steelers fans should be getting mad at the Steelers here, because that's the way. What fans should be demanding more of at this point is trying to find out why the Steelers shy away from the up to contracts.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and this is going to sound like a really critical comment. It's not, but JuJu is not good enough to change the Steelers' business model. TJ Watt was good enough to change the business model of guaranteed money past year one for non-quarterbacks. JuJu's not at that level, and so Pittsburgh's not going to put in incentives because they do it for him. They got to start doing it for a bunch of guys, and that's a road they do not want to go down.
And then also, people curious, and people are not going to want us to spend much more time talking about a player that's no longer on the Steelers. Yeah. The incentives are up on Pro Football Talk, and he's going to have to stay healthy, and he's going to have to catch a lot of balls for a lot of yards. And this team's going to have that Chiefs team's going to have. He has got a lot of work to do to hit the 10.5 or whatever million in 2022 there. And he's got they traded away Tyreek Hill, and he's got some company over there too.
Yeah. So, I think he'll hit some of those, probably won't hit all of them. I don't know. He'll probably make $6-7 million this year with the Chiefs when all is said and done.
Okay.
Dave, you mentioned it earlier in the mock draft. Keller Witherspoon, that contract not official yet, been rumored, and not even just going off what Aditi said, at the start of free agency, but there were reports 2 or 3 days after that saying like a deal had been reached. 2 years, $8 million had contractual terms, but is not appeared to have not been signed yet. So any cause for concern there?
Sure. It's not signed yet.
Sometimes it's normal. Like some guys are on vacation and they don't, they're out of the country, or they can't. They got to wait till they get back to sign.
I could give you eight different reasons here and wind up wrong on them because there's just don't know here. Bob Labriola was asked about this and has asked and answered. He says, and I don't know how much insight he might have. He says the Steelers have come to agreement on a contract with Keller Witherspoon on a 2-year contract, but until the paperwork is signed, the team's policy is not to list it as a done deal. The paperwork hasn't been signed, most likely because Witherspoon doesn't live in Pittsburgh during the offseason. That's a very good reason. Maybe he's on vacation. He agreed to the terms of the deal. I think Josina Anderson was the first to report that a week ago Thursday on the 17th. And we haven't heard anything else since then. So I would imagine that this is more than just faxing him the paperwork. They probably want to get him in there to take a physical, right? and then sign off and then, do all the other things that go along with that. And that hasn't happened yet. It's not official on the NFL transaction sheet either. The Steelers obviously have not announced the deal. Montravius Adams is a perfect example. That was announced, several days before, but then they brought him in. He signed. He had his press conference and all like that. You would imagine something along the same lines would happen with Ahkello Witherspoon. Will it happen? I would like to think that it would, but good Lord, Drew Carey grew his hair out, or no?
Did he? Drew Carey?
Yeah. Or is that who does The Price is Right still?
Yeah, he still does Price is Right.
I haven't watched this in years. Yeah, that's Drew Carey. Man, he grew his hair out. Sorry about that. And I don't know why it's on the station. I had TV problems this morning, and I'm sitting here watching Price is Right now, evidently. I apologize. Do I know what's going to happen with Ahkello Witherspoon? No. I would like to think that, someone like Josina Anderson reports that deal agreeing to terms that it would go through, but we have seen crazier things happen.
Yeah, saw with Randy Gregory, the Cowboys announced he's re-signed, and now he ends up going to Denver. So I think it'll happen. I'm not super concerned about it. I think it's just probably a logistical thing about getting him in town. So just a little bit of delay there. I'm not too worried about it.
All right, so I'm taking him off the board right now. I'm not, I'm gonna wait until he's signed until I start counting him back in the salary cap situation here.
Right, and I think Deshaun Watson is speaking now or soon with his introductory press conference with the Browns. So We'll see what they say there. James Washington, going back to receivers here. Speaking of interviews, spoke with the Dallas media yesterday and talked about his time in Pittsburgh and basically said, and this will be no shock to anybody, that he felt like he was not used properly or used enough. In Dallas last year, the quote was, there was meat left on the bone. And so that's a very apt term for the farmer rancher that is James Washington.
There was lobster meat left in the claws. Right? Yep. Look, I mean, you can see the writing on the wall with him coming, right? I mean, all of us did. We've talked for quite a while. If there's one guy that can't wait, to get out of town this offseason, it's him. And now he's out of town. Best of luck to him. Good kid, hard guy not to root for. And I hope he becomes that wide receiver that he was at Oklahoma State.
I hope so too. He did talk about it.
Albeit I hope a little less being this with the Cowboys.
That's true.
Yeah. Let me quantify that obviously here. But as far as him, the person, I'd like to see him succeed because he never, and in so many words, he said, look, he just never really got a chance. In Pittsburgh, and stems back from that first couple of opportunities deep down the field from Ben Roethlisberger, where him kind of looking like he unnecessarily leaping, for whatever reason, then the Steelers, went behind him and drafted a guy in Chase Claypool. At the moment that pick was made, you could see kind of where things were probably heading with James Washington. James Washington is either going to quickly become the next, good deep threat in the NFL, or he's going to become the next Marcus Wheaton.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have a good opportunity in Dallas with a good quarterback, and Cooper's gone, and Wilson's gone, so there's going to be, I think, a chance for him to carve out some sort of a role. His contract is super light. It's a veteran minimum benefit contract, I think, right?
I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah, it's 1 year, $1.01 million. It's a minimum salary benefit contract. He's actually, I think, getting paid less than what Arthur Millette got from Pittsburgh. So, like, it's things I didn't expect. But obviously,
you are exactly right. That is a vet benefit contract. Kudos to you. He gets the base salary of a minimum, and we talked about what that signing bonus needed to be. That is the maximum. That is the maximum signing bonus a player can get on a 1 year vet benefit contract with him.
But still super, super cheap. So he's got to try to rebuild his value. And I get it. The dude caught 24 passes last year. He was pretty invisible. He didn't get to play that much. So understand his market value was not going to be hot, but it is bottom barrel right now, and he's got to work on rebuilding it.
And I bet he could have received. I'm willing to bet the Steelers would have matched that offer with him, but he probably said, "To heck with that, I'm out of here."
Yeah, I think he probably did not return any phone calls, and I don't think there was literally not one Steeler fan who thought he was coming back. Right. That rarely happens with us, like a universal consensus on return or leave, and he was gone. He was gone.
So you can count on him not counting in the compensatory draft pick formula.
It's also a good point. Yeah, Pittsburgh, they're not getting any comp picks next year,
No.
are they, Dave, with all the signings they've done? All right, I think it kind of wraps up some of the things we want to talk about from a press conference standpoint. You did mention our pro day tracker and some of the more interesting things. Yeah, I mean, whenever I see Arias,
you're obsessed.
My obsession. I know. I was
You're
like 2
obsessed.
a.m. looking at North Dakota State, Fox 8, whatever it was last night, finding Phil Kreidler. The area scouts don't mean a whole lot to me. It's just kind of a box check, and it's the position coaches, it's Tomlin, Colbert, coordinators that mean more in terms of the weight for the mock draft. But some notable ones here: North Dakota State, Phil Kreidler was there to see Christian Watson. You mentioned Frisman Jackson for Danny Gray. That's going to be important. That's why Danny Gray make a great choice for your mock draft. We identified 7 of the 8 people at Cincinnati yesterday: Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, Omar Khan, Mike Sullivan, Matt Canada, Dan Colbert, and Brandon Hunt. So we've seen Hunt on the pro day trail with Tomlin and Colbert. Now Khan making the trip to Cincinnati. You think about those guys and their potential to be the next GM of the Steelers. You want to bring those guys to look at these quarterbacks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's no mistake that they're bringing such a large entourage, if you will, to these quarterback pro days. And like you said at the top of the show, I think if we've made any progress in all of this through the pre-draft process, it's that we're probably 92% convinced that this team's drafting a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, they skipped the Ohio State pro day to look at quarterbacks. They've skipped a couple of pro days. They're usually
Penn State pro day.
State, yeah, to go see some of these quarterbacks. That what tells you they're going to get. Cincinnati has more than just Ritter. They got a lot of good prospects this year. Cincinnati was packed yesterday. They got Gardner, and the pro day dinner, by the way, that Tomlin had, it was not just with Ritter. Usually he takes multiple guys out. So it's Ritter. It was Brian Cook, the safety, Kobe Bryant, the corner, and Sanders, the edge rusher. So that was the pro day dinner at the steakhouse at whatever that is, Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse. That probably cost Tomlin a lot of money.
Ooh, yeah, I don't
put that on Rooney's card.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, look, I mean, and you have done a great job on that, and you'll probably even double back.
I have been, yeah.
Trying to get some extra names on there, and once again, lay out to the people real quick the importance of the position coaches, Alex.
Yeah, it's just the recent history, and one of our great commenters, Falcon Safeties, kind of did a study on that in the comment section on the Pro Day article that just shows the importance. The last 2 years, a lot of the positional coaches that have been places, the Steelers draft them, whether that's Eddie Faulkner at Kentucky, which is more than 2 years ago for Benny Snell. Last year was Alfredo Roberts at Penn State. Chris Morgan was there for Dan Moore. Adrian Clem was there for Kendrick Green. And a couple of years ago, Daryl Drake, late Daryl Drake, was there for Deontay Johnson. James Daniel there at Michigan for Zach Gentry. So just kind of worked on the list of names in terms of some of these draft picks. Stanley Smith there for Presley Harvin. You do a lot of connecting there. So Pittsburgh, again, they do not smoke screen. They do not play games. They just like who they like. They see who they want to see. And that's how it goes. So we're up to 40 confirmed names and places on our Pro Day tracker. We'll be adding more. Pro Days run through the first week of April, essentially. So, and got some big ones today. You got Notre Dame, got Boston College, I think TCU. So there should be some good ones out there. And again, Kevin Colbert, we know, is at Notre Dame today.
What's more likely to happen? You haven't spotted some of these, some of these position coaches. Say Pat Meyer's been hard to find. I mean,
well, I've seen him 2 times actually. I've seen him Minnesota at A&M.
Okay, and okay, so where else? I mean, who Eddie Faulkner? He has. Have you spotted him anywhere yet?
No, but I doubt running back is super high on their list. Obviously, yeah, it's been a little bit lighter with the positional coaches, so it's kind of been frustrating. I've only seen Dunbar at one place, which is A&M. Just saw Osavsky for the first time yesterday at Penn State. Grady Brown for the first time at Penn State. So
was Alfredo the one at SMU too, or no?
No, that was Frisman Jackson.
Okay, and the other person there was
Kelvin Fisher.
Scott. Yeah, Kelvin Fisher, who I found. Yeah,
I've seen Rick Raprice. Like I think I know exactly where Raprice has been at every single trip. It's just not, I mean, it's great, but it's like that's not the one guy that I want to know his whole itinerary.
Right.
But he's just the South Scout, and so I've seen him like 8 times already this year. Getting tired of seeing you, Rick.
Do you get the feeling that inside linebacker is probably not high on the radar?
Based on Osavsky's travel, less so. I mean, you signed Miles Jack. You still have Devin Bush. You got some depth behind. It's not great options, but there's depth there.
And what are your thoughts about offensive line at this point?
Yeah, it does not seem to be incredibly high on their list. I think they've, because they've addressed it so much more aggressively in free agency by re-signing a core four and signing Daniels and signing Cole. I've only seen Meyer two places, and Minnesota, Faalele's an option if he drops to you in the second round, and then A&M. I'm not even sure who would be at A&M because you got Kenyon Green, but he's not going to make it to 52, I don't think. And
right.
So, yeah, the positional coaches have been a little bit lighter, but they're kind of picking up. And of course, pro days aren't over yet. So we'll see what we can do.
All right. Good job on that. And I try to help you out I feel as excited as you get when you find one, I am triple more excited when I beat you to one. So I want you to know that that's the game on my end, is to beat you to one.
Did we mention, by the way, that there was apparently no one at UConn's pro day? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, and that was that the graphic that they put out? Did they put a graphic or no?
They did. Yeah, they had a graphic of the teams, and I assume that was listing the teams who were there. They listed just 25, and Pittsburgh was not included there, so I'm assuming they were not there.
Yeah, and Utah State didn't have nobody there.
I'm very
either.
sorry, Dave.
You know what I wanted to address real quick? When I was looking at my second round pick, for a while there, I thought, man, I'm going to put Sky Moore in there, man. Sky Moore in there. But, he doesn't make a lot of the variables of what you look for on the Alex, the height, right? I mean, nowhere close to qualifying on the height scale of what the Steelers look for in wide receivers.
Yeah, they usually don't go that short. I don't remember the exact correlation, though, because they've been drafting a lot of the outside height, weight, speed guys. So obviously
right.
A slot body versus a Z body is going to be different. I mean, Deontay was not a big guy as the X.
Right.
So I don't know if it'd be a disqualifier. Just might be just because they haven't drafted a lot of slot guys.
Okay. But that was one little bit of a deterrent. And I think still the Western Michigan Pro Day is yet to come, right?
No, they had it like 2 weeks ago. I check every day to see if something has come up that I missed. I cannot find out. I got to email the school and see if they can help me out, maybe, because I cannot tell who was there, if anyone was there. I assume somebody was there, but I do not know.
But you would even think, as well as Mike Tomlin knows the kid and all like that they would still send Frisman Jackson out there, right?
Or somebody, at least. I mean, they were at
right.
Kenny Pickett's pro day, and they know Kenny Pickett pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to still do their due diligence and see how the guy, works out, and just, to learn as much as you possibly can. The name of the game in the draft season is information. The more you can learn, the better.
Look, I mean, Senior Bowl and Shrine Game, All-Star Game, if you're mocking people and you're not paying attention to Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl for the eligible people, then you're doing it wrong. And as far as underclassmen go, they normally get their underclassmen within the first 3 rounds if they go that way.
Yeah. I mean, usually that's because we're the bulk of the underclassmen. Maybe not the bulk of them, but like the top guys are
right.
Underclassmen.
Right.
And, yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep you updated. We'll see what today brings. We'll see Boston College. I mean, Zion Johnson has kind of been talked about a lot less, but will they send somebody up there? They got a couple of linemen. They got Lindstrom. They got Zion. I mean, there's a couple of offensive linemen that I think would be worth Pat Meyer taking the trip up there.
Okay.
We shall see. All right, Dave, anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to start wrapping up today's show?
Let's see. Let's talk about our friends at my book. How your brackets going?
I lost Gonzaga last night, as I'm sure many people did. So my bracket's in really rough shape.
Who had I bet some people could have made some money. They had Arkansas knocking off Gonzaga.
How's your bracket, Lo? You didn't do a bracket, did you?
I didn't do a bracket. No, look, some of us got to work, Alex, and from all the biggest names to the smallest events, like final the March Madness, make every bet worth your while with MyBookie. Start by doubling your first deposit instantly with MyBookie's first deposit bonus. Double your money before you even place a bet, and all you have to do is sign up and deposit using our exclusive promo code TERRIBLE. That's exclusive promo code TERRIBLE when you sign up at MyBookie. There are tons of great games and prop bets to take advantage of this week, especially with March Madness moving into the Sweet 16 portion here, and that obviously will continue on Friday. Don't wait any longer. Head to MyBookie today to redeem your double deposit bonus so you can get in the game and start winning big today, tonight, NBA basketball, NHL, NCAA basketball, women's tournament underway as well too. Make sure you get on the action by using promo code TERRIBLE at MyBookie to receive your first deposit bonus instantly in your account. No hassle, no wait. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with our friends at MyBookie at mybookie.ag. Listen, if you listen to this and you haven't done it, get over there to mybookie.ag. Use promo code TERRIBLE. Use it. Take advantage of that bonus and get you a couple bets in tonight.
All right. Thank you to MyBookie, as always, for their support. Let's get to read emails and close out today's show.
All right. I'm dreading this. Chandler writes in, happy Friday, fellas. Today I'm going to get a little tinfoil hattish, but I'm truly curious about something. I've been with Dave for a long time now about how you don't settle for a quarterback in 2022, that if your guy isn't there at 20, then you don't draft a quarterback. The closer we get, is it just me that feels that there's a growing chance Corral, Ritter, or Howell happens? He says, I know some are saying Stingley Jr. falls into us or we get somewhere else, get somewhere else, but it's just me that it feels like those tier 2 quarterbacks are a growing possibility with a question mark, he writes. Once again, happy Friday, guys, and thanks for all the great work. Channel, that's what makes this interesting, right? Alex and I have addressed this. You would be a complete denier if you deny the fact of what's happened with the attendance that they've had at this pro day at the quarterback position. Yeah. In other words, accepting the fact that it could be someone else other than Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett.
Absolutely. I don't want to get locked in on just one or two names in this process and put blinders on for the others. They're very much in play. I think Ritter makes a lot of sense. I think Corral's a good fit. And they'll probably be at North Carolina's Pro Day Monday for us to talk about Sam Howell. So, sure, all those things are on the table.
That's not, I've expressed my fears about the situation, and those are going to continue to be my fears the rest of the way here I'm going to be hard to sell that this is our quarterback, Matt Corral. He's the one we wanted the whole time. They're going to be my BS meter is going to be off the hook, going crazy if that's the case there. So, but
I mean, is it possible they just like those guys and we just didn't know about it because it wasn't as visible, because Corral wasn't at the Senior Bowl because he wasn't eligible and couldn't throw at the combine? Like, it just because it's not as obvious doesn't mean it's not true.
Okay, sure.
So
I'm still going to have a problem with it.
Yeah, I will say on Stingley, I know that was in Jeremiah's mock draft where Willis was out of the first round, which was a kind of a bizarre one. I listened to Jeremiah on Rich Eyes, and he said basically he just got bored of mocking Malik Willis to Pittsburgh and wanted to do something different, and so that's why he mocked Stingley. So I wouldn't pay much mind to that.
Okay. Any chance Willis falls to 20, Alex?
There's always a chance. Again, I hate that G word, that guaranteed. I want to say he's guaranteed to be a top 19 pick, but I think the odds of that happening, him falling that far, are low.
All right. Brandon writes in, these three talking about Kevin Colbert's history won't go into the draft with a glaring hole. Here are a few names for both receiver and strong safety. He says 3 receivers can probably be had for the minimum benefit contract. He writes Keenan Cole, Alan Hearns. Alan Hearns was just released with a failed physical, I think. He's 30 years old. Albert Wilson, he says, never the same after signing a big deal in Miami, a free agency, and got injured. He writes Adam Humphries. Alex would know best, but I believe he mostly spent his career in the slot. And then Traquan Smith, former second-round draft pick of the Saints, some pedigree there. You can't rule it. The list has dwindled quite a bit, though, at this point, as the guys that you think might get help. I would still have Jarvis Landry at the top of that list. And then I tell you, if it is any one of those guys that you named off, Brandon, I hope they don't spend a lot of money on them.
Yeah, those guys will all be cheap. Yeah, I've looked at those names. Humphreys has been a slot guy his career with Tennessee, Tampa Bay. So, I mean, that does make sense. He's kind of the smaller type. I wonder if they would want the more big body type. Cole I've looked at as well. So we'll see. I mean, those all, are fair names to put out there. I was going to say good names, but they're not even that good names in terms of like talent wise. We'll see. I think they'll add somebody, but it's not going to be like the guy to solve the position. They're going to have to do that via the draft.
And it still feels like they have to do something, right?
That's what Colbert does. He very rarely goes into a draft with like a glaring void at one position. Usually it is kind of the more mid to low tier vet plus the draft pick. Again, Burnett Edmonds is a great example of that.
All right, let's carry on here real quick. Get past Brandon here. Dave in Chicago writes, I don't understand why Desmond Ridder isn't higher on most people's draft boards. He has it all: measurables, experience, production, maturity, competitive fire, and he's improved every year. He's already taken the initiative to work on his mechanics with Jordan Palmer. I think he's only scratched the surface. I'd much rather see the Steelers stay put at 20 and take Ridder than take away future draft picks for Willis, who is a total project that will take years to develop. This team is built to win now with Najee, Hayward, and Watt. In 3 years, those guys may either be retired or winding down. Okay, if you believe that Ridder should be on the same level as Malik Willis, that's obviously your assessment of it. I mean, I'm telling you from my deeper study into these guys that it's Malik Willis overall in this draft class. Once again, I'm not fond of this quarterback draft class, but if I was to get excited about a guy, my excitement would be about what Willis can become, not what Willis is now. As far as the upside of the rest of those guys, I don't see them being too far away from their ceiling of where they're at right now, period.
I still need to do more work on Ridder, but what's like the knock on Ridder that's not putting him in that camp?
I think he's another case of he is who he is at this point,
Okay.
And just not, that there's not a lot of plays that wow me when it comes to extending the play, the mobility, and those kind of things there. And an element that Mike Tomlin has talked about consistently. I think he's a great kid. I mean, cute little girl, boy. He had that little girl at this press conference, and seems to be seems to be level-headed kind of leader spot. I just think when you look at overall ability, I think he is what he is coming out of Cincinnati. He's just that not a lot to get excited about from what I've seen on tape so far. Yeah. And
he did test well. I mean, he tested off the charts though, in terms of just the raw athleticism.
Okay. But I mean, I haven't seen a lot of that where I go, wow, on tape. Now, here's the thing. And once again, for every wow moment that Malik Willis has that, oh my God, how did he do that? There's an equal amount of, wow, why did he do that? Kind of thing there. But as far as what I've seen looking at all these quarterbacks, the guy that excites me the most about wondering, man, maybe this guy can be the next, top 10 kind of franchise quarterback. I view it to believe Malik Willis. Now, am I to the position where I think, oh, he's guaranteed to be that guy? Hell no. I'd be stupid to say anything like that, especially at the quarterback position. I'm just looking at it from a raw trait scenario of where I see him at now, where I see that I think he has the ability to potentially be, and that's what makes him, to me, the most excitable quarterback in this class. Now, if you want a guy to come in off the street and not a lot of upside, but a guy that can start and probably win you some games in the NFL, it's Kenny Pickett. Everything else just falls underneath that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I understand. I want to do some more homework, and I still think Willis has certainly the upside and wow factor that is going to get teams and has teams really excited.
So, I mean, I'm Dave in Chicago. I'm not discounting the fact that the Steelers might be high on Desmond Ridder, who I just feel like if they were going to rank them, there's no way in the world I would believe them saying we had Ridder ranked above Pickett and Malik Willis.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I'm trying to see, it looks like Chad Reuter's last mock draft, I think, actually has Pittsburgh trading up for Desmond Ridder. It looks like to number 12, but that's just mock draft stuff.
And maybe that, I'm not saying that Desmond Ridder's not going to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. I'm just saying from what I've seen so far, my study on it, he is at a minimum the third best quarterback in this draft class in what is, I think, agreeably a below average draft class, correct?
Yeah, it's regarded as not a particularly strong class. It lacks the clear number one guy. It may not have a top 5 quarterback in this class. Maybe not even a top 10, but probably around top 10. So that by definition almost makes it a weaker class.
So he's saying he doesn't understand why Ritter isn't higher on most people's draft boards. I think it's just, I think it's the tape, personally.
Yeah, I can't best answer the tape question yet, but I want to do that within a week or so with the quarterbacks I still haven't fully gotten to.
Jeff Berg, what do y'all make of Tomlin and Colbert visiting 4 quarterback pro days, doing their due diligence? Is it possible they aren't dialed into just Malik Willis and might take another one if they can get him? Jeff, you heard the whole show. I think we've answered all of that in there. I mean, it certainly is plausible that they take one of, heck, they haven't even got what's going to happen when all of them show up at North Carolina pro day.
Yeah, we'll add Sam Howell to the list.
Then people are going to say, well, wait a minute. And Kevin Colbert was spotted at North Carolina games. So how can you discount Sam Howell at that point? Well, the answer is you can't.
Right. Yeah. I've mentioned Howell for a while now. And so I expect Tomlin and Colbert to be there Monday for UNC. So again, but that just speaks to what I said earlier at the top of the show. It's harder to now determine who that one guy is. But the odds of them taking a quarterback are a lot higher, even compared to a week ago, because of all the effort and homework they're putting in to the position.
I'm willing to bet Matt Rule don't show up at the North Carolina Pro Day.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not a big trip for him to make, but probably. So he may go because he just might be in the area. But yeah, I don't think they're not taking Sam Howell.
Yeah, they better make their dinner right. They better take Howell out to dinner now.
Right.
Let's see. Jay Barbati writes in. Look, once again, people, I am attempting to read the tea leaves in all this, along with what my own evaluation of the quarterback position is to date. End of story.
Yeah, and that's what we do when we do the mock drafts. We'll talk about and give our own opinions, as Dave just did about this quarterback class and why he likes Malik Willis more than Desmond Ridder. But at the end of the day, our goal is to try to figure out what this team is going to do, not what we want them to do.
Jay Barbati, what kind of season does Mitch need to have to get extended next year? Does drafting a first-round quarterback mean he's gone regardless of how he plays? Well, I mean, if that guy comes out and takes you to the Super Bowl and or deep into the playoffs, and he is a main focal point for that, it's hard just to kick him out the door, ain't it?
Yeah, well, first of all, he won't need to be extended. He's under contract for next year. It's a 2-year deal that he signed.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if he was like saying in the sense of like not getting cut. In terms of him, what does he have? What was the second part of that question? In terms of them starting next year?
Does drafting a first-round quarterback mean he's gone regardless? I don't necessarily mean that he's gone next year, but it is going to be. We'll see what kind of cap situation this team is, but pay him what is his base salary? Something like $8 million. I mean, that's it's kind of hard to justify paying a backup quarterback that kind of money.
Yeah. In theory, best case scenario, you draft a quarterback this year. He sits. Trubisky plays well this year, has a good season, but not like an amazing season, but just like a good season. And then you trade him for a third round pick or something next offseason, and then start your rookie who will be then the second year guy in 2023.
Simon Short, happy Friday. Let's see. Happy Friday, guys. Thanks for all the coverage this week on the pro days. With the wide receiver room needing a veteran, could you see a reunion with Emmanuel Sanders? Probably not. I mean, probably not at this point at his age and all. It doesn't. I don't know if he had more of a beef with just Ben Roethlisberger or the Steelers organization as a whole. I mean, I guess it would depend. It wouldn't be a 1-year contract unless it was for a vet minimum. I don't think Emmanuel Sanders is interested in playing for a 1-year vet minimum. And I don't think Emmanuel Sanders is probably interested in taking a 2-year deal for, I don't know, $8 million total.
Yeah. I'm not going to rule it out. We've seen some of those reunions even with older Steelers before, but I don't
think it's out of the question with Ben Roethlisberger gone, but I would be a bit, I don't want to sit here and say absolutely no way it happens, but when you look at his age and probably the kind of money that he's going to command, and I would bet against it.
Oh yeah. Sanders had beef with Ben, right? That was the thing. Okay. Right. I forgot about that. So yeah, maybe, but I really couldn't tell you.
Chuck Griffith writes in, when Colbert and Tomlin have been asked about them doing mock drafts, they have responded that they don't mock other teams and just stack prospects as if they picked 1, 2, and then and so on. Any consideration of you, Alex, Josh, and others stacking a board of 10 to 20 picks using the Steelers method on a pod episode? Ugh.
Well, that might be better for a visual aid type of thing, so I might have to look different. I don't exactly know what they do. They used to do mock drafts. They don't anymore. You're right about that. Colbert confirmed that a couple of years ago. Maybe. I don't know. Dave sounded less enthused about the idea, maybe than the reader did.
Yeah, I mean, if one of those guys want to do, if they direct me which way to go with it, I'll partake in it. But not something I'm looking. It's hard enough putting these mocks together just as is, quite a bit of chore that way there. But I mean, I don't know, maybe someone can do an article on it and take a stab that way.
And we do have our big board that we do too,
right,
as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I think that's got most of it out of the way there. So I think Symbol Critics. Who else could you see them moving up for other than Malik Willis? Could you see them trading up for anybody other than a quarterback? Alex?
No one other than a quarterback.
Me either. I couldn't see them trading up for anybody else. They're Mark from NoCal. Looking at the Steelers, looking at the draft, the Steelers will trade up for number 1 spot with Jacksonville to get Malik Willis. Thoughts? I would be surprised if they traded up Mark from Northern California to the number 1 spot.
Saying Pittsburgh to go up to 1?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's not going up to 1. No, that'd be the capital to do that might be one of those that bar is too high, which is I usually say pay whatever it takes, but that would be I don't know, three first round picks or something.
Mike writes in, Dear David Knox, first of all, I want to thank you a million times over for your daily content, website updates, and podcasts. I can speak for a lot of fans of this blog and honestly say you guys are a blessing. My question is the following. Fred Johnson was waived by Cincinnati. If he clears waivers, he can be had for a cheap contract. What say you? Look, I'm never against people being signed for minimum contracts. In a story, I don't care who you are. Alex even has value probably as a minimal vet benefit contract. We'll see. Look, he was one that got snatched off of the Steelers practice squad, right? Or off waivers.
Yeah, well, he signed with Tampa Bay today for $2 million. So he's off
there you
board.
Go. Yeah, I missed that this morning with my internet down. So there you go.
Yeah. So, and I probably have value. I can't even get the guarantee having value on the minimum salary benefit.
I'm sorry?
I probably have value. I can't be fully guaranteed to have value on the minimum salary benefit contract.
I'd give you the $152,500 signing bonus.
I'm getting the James Washington deal.
Yeah, you've earned that. I mean,
me and James Washington, one and the same.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to my ranch after this, and
I'll send you to camp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not promising you make the 53, okay? But I think you're worth $152,500.
Well, thank you. That's I feel good now.
Somebody wanted me to ask you more about your love life in here. How's that going?
Let's not do that. It's not going well. I haven't really.
Would you mind someone in the industry? I mean,
in the industry.
I mean, like a sports reporter or something like that, or is that too close to what you do? I mean, is it okay to have common interests that would even boil over into like blogging and all like that?
Dave, I have no standards. My standards are on the ground.
Okay.
I'm Carolina searching for a quarterback, trying to ask anyone I can, and I'm sitting at the other table just looking at Mike Tomlin.
Okay. All right. Just you'll let me know when there's any updates, right?
Yeah, my updates is I was looking for Steelers scouts in North Dakota State at 2 a.m. last night. So that kind of tells you how that's all going.
Yeah, there's not an app for that, is there? Edge or whatever it is.
Keep calling it Edge. I don't know why it's Hinge.
Hinge.
You just have Edge on the brain.
All right. All right. I'll keep checking back with you, Alex.
Great.
Anything else we'd like to add to it before we get out of here? Probably not, right?
No, I think it's a good time. I don't even know how long this podcast was because I forgot to write down time. So we'll be back, though, on Monday to probably talk about how the Steelers will draft Sam Howell.
Okay. There you go. Follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, let's see. ad-free, all like that. Donate, SteelersDepot.com. Make sure you hit that if at all possible there. Alex and I will be back on Monday. We'll see what happens by then. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.